It is incredibly easy to be pessimistic about the current state of the video games industry, and I think no company gives people more comfort in their pessimism than Bungie. Gone are the days of Bungie standing heads and shoulders above the rest of the medium, releasing hit after hit. Nowadays it just seems as if every time that I hear about Bungie, it is always negative. It's always some bad news coming out of there. And I think this has really hit the fan when it comes to the latest game coming out for Bungie, Marathon. An extraction hero shooter. Look, the only term in video games that puts me to sleep faster than hero shooter or extraction shooter is battle royale. So Marathon is already a Meatloaf song for me. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but for me it is. And sure, clowning on Marathon right now feels like it's just beating on a dead horse even before the horse is even born. But I think in a lot of ways, Marathon epitomizes a lot of the modern gaming issues that I have with a lot of big developers and publishers, where a lot of games feel like nothing more than a checklist of things that other games do in an effort to chase the money that those more successful games are able to acquire. And while opinions on Marathon ranged from, oh, this looks pretty good, to, what the hell is this? One thing a lot of people were looking forward to in regards to this game was its overall art design. Now, I'm not one of those. I always thought this game looked but ugly. The environments in-game didn't look appealing to me, and also the character design looks, well, for lack of a better word, ugly. But there are some elements of the art design that can be rather pleasing to the eye. And as it turns out, yeah, a lot of the art in this game was just lifted from another artist named Anti-Real, and it's incredibly blatant. By the way, this isn't just alleged. The Marathon dev team Twitter account even admitted it. We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. This issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. We take matters like this very seriously. We have reached out to @Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artist, and implementing stricter checks to document all artist contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. And this is a rabbit hole, people, of others in the company actually following that account for a long time, to previous instances and accusations of plagiarism by Bungie, not just for Marathon. And if you've been following this company for a while, it feels as if this is just an endless drip feed of bad PR. And while a lot of conversation, rightfully so, will land squarely at the foot of all these, plagiarism accusations and the integrity of Bungie, I want to take a step back and talk about why, even before all of this, why I didn't believe Marathon was going to make any real headway. Because in a lot of ways, it's the epitome of what I've talked about a lot on this channel when it comes to large game developers and publishers just being out of touch. I don't understand the appeal anyone had in regards to the art direction of Marathon. It's not something that is pleasing to my eye, at least. But I can set my own personal biases aside and talk about the game on the whole, because quite a few people did like how this game actually visually looked. They wanted to learn more about this game, to become engrossed by this game. And Bungie even released about an 8-minute short cinematic that really feels like more of a short film, and it's really well animated and executed, and it's just, well, pretty good. But when I was watching it, it just felt like an advertisement for extraction shooters as a concept. Because any work they're trying to do in terms of building up this world and making it interesting is thrown to the wayside the moment you learn it's a seasonal story in an extraction shooter without a dedicated single player. It's one thing if Marathon was going to be a new IP to begin with, but it's not. Marathon is an already existing game series by Bungie from the 1990s. It's a game and a world that already has lore. And let's not pretend as if everybody or even most people nowadays are familiar with Marathon, the original games. I've only played a little bit myself. However, especially if you are a fan of Halo, The connections between Marathon and Halo have always been talked about, so the idea that Marathon is coming back would naturally spark interest for a lot of people that were interested in Marathon, but maybe the games were just way too dated and old. So having a new entry in that fabled series to bring the game and that world into the modern day with more modern mechanics and controls, that could appeal to a lot of people, only to have the rug pulled out from under them to be told that it's a hero extraction shooter. One, by the way, where the art style or an overall aesthetic is a far cry from those older games, because yes, they are old, but even if you boot up the original Marathon 1, which is available on Steam by the way for free, the horror atmosphere and the unique atmosphere of Marathon comes through in the opening minutes. And everything that I've seen from Marathon, the 2025 version, looks so far removed from that. And this was evident to me even from the initial reveal tease of Marathon all those years ago. This isn't like a recent development. For a lot of people, I imagine, this was a feeling that it has existed for Marathon for a while now. And I don't tend to find that to be a good first impression for a game that is aiming to make headway in a genre that a lot of people consider to be a niche genre, but we see more and more games try to hop on the bandwagon of extraction shooters. Now, if the extraction shooter mode was just a separate mode in a more comprehensive game that has a single player that explores the universe and the world more thoroughly and actively, alongside maybe a more traditional multiplayer, I imagine quite a few people wouldn't mind the extraction shooter and view it to be an interesting addition. But that is not what we're getting. Instead, we're getting a game that feels like it solely exists to chase trends. On top of it, we get all of these autistic plagiarism accusations that are then verified by Bungie themselves. You know a game is not in a good position when it genuinely feels like people can just write post-mortems for a game that's not even out yet. It truly is a shame to see a company that was once held in such a high regard like Bungie, because when Bungie was on top, there were few on the same mountain as them, just descend and rot into whatever it is today. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are working on Marathon and that have worked on Marathon that are pouring a lot of love and care and attention into the game. But all that work, all that love, all that inspiration is being undercut by people in key positions that clearly do not understand the medium, or at least the modern medium, or people who simply want to chase trends instead of innovate by themselves. All the while grabbing old dead IP to transform it into something, even for people that are not particularly familiar with that old IP, into something that is hardly recognizable. Also that they can say, Marathon is back. This series that served as the foundation of what Halo would eventually become, yeah, we're bringing it back. And it's not gonna look or feel anything like the Marathon of old. Because that's what the people want, isn't it? A bunch of buzzwords roped together in a trench coat. It's funny, you can't even blame the fact that it's an extraction shooter, because the art game is getting a bunch of glowing publicity right now. Same reason you couldn't blame the Sins of Concord solely on the fact that it was a hero shooter, because Marvel Rivals then came out and blew away the competition. But I think for a lot of people, even if they don't fully know how to, explain why, or are able to consciously pick up on something, I think a lot of people, more than you think, are able to subconsciously pick up on when games simply feel as if they exist to chase trends instead of to add something cool and great to that idea. I think Marathon is a good representation of what happens when you try and overly focus on one specific thing in lieu of providing a comprehensive and engaging experience. If the current extraction shooter mode from Marathon looked a bit light on content, but was juxtaposed with a full engaging single player, and also a regular multiplayer mode alongside it, it doesn't even have to be that deep or that complex with that many features. It just has to exist. I think a lot of people would be way more up and positive in regards to Marathon. But because they chose to overly focus on just being an extraction shooter and trying to get that out of the door because they believe that was where the money was, it has led to this game becoming an actual black hole of hype and popularity, to where the main reaction myself and a lot of other people have whenever we hear that there is Marathon news, that reaction is just, oh god, what is it this time? That is not the reaction people should have to hearing that there's something new about Marathon. That's not a recipe for success. maybe they'll be able to turn it around. Maybe. Never say never, right? But I think it's fair to say that it is highly unlikely that they will be able to turn this ship around. I think it's safe to say, though, that I am not optimistic for the future of Marathon. With that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games. Leave a comment down below. Are you excited for Marathon? And if you're not, what puts you off of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.